What's up everybody, Blue Move here. Today we're going to talk about the Metaverse once again, but it's not going to be a project or a game video. This is a much needed conversation about what the Metaverse is, but it's one that is particularly for gamers. Why much needed? Well, I think that until we have an understanding of what this space is, or what we're building, what we're engaging with, well, it's impossible to get any clarity, and gamers will be confused and less attracted by the space in general. And also, let's remember that in many cases, it's money we're spending in order to participate. Let's start from the Metaverse. It's a very nice term, it's very catchy, but it's definitely too generic, and it includes way too many things. Digital identity, digital ownership. It's simply too big for gamers to sit comfortably in. Remember though, before we start, this environment is ever changing. If you think that some of my analysis is off, just let me know and in the comments, and we can keep the conversation going, which is exactly what I want to do here. I'm going to be painting with a broad brush, and not everything might fit into the categories I'll be highlighting. Anyway, time to start. So let's bring in the graphics team. First of all, we're going to make the simplest of distinctions between D-gaming and trad gaming. We have now D-Fi and C-Fi. We have D-Art and trad art. So we're building D-gaming in stark contrast to trad gaming. In trad gaming, gamers pay to receive either an experience. Now you can pay for a game, you can pay for a subscription, but basically you must give a company some money. Of course, there are exceptions. Once you have paid, you can only be indirectly part of the experience. In D-gaming, things are completely different. Gamers actually don't start as gamers in a lot of these projects. Very frequently, you start from a group of people who have a passion for something, or have a great idea for a game, and they want to build that. You're always living in an ecosystem that you own a little bit of, but you can also be part of the building process. In trad gaming, players are given use of assets in game. It's like they're borrowing skins, upgrades, cosmetics, weapons, all sort of things, but you own nothing. That's basically it. Now, what happens to players in D-gaming? Well, they own their own assets. Then in the future, you can expect the same assets to be transferable from a game to another one. I think that's a massive challenge. How can I, for example, move a gun from a first-person shooter to another game in which there are not even guns? Is there going to be a way to maybe have some assets in a game and have similar value in another game? I don't know. But we own the assets. Also, players in trad gaming can be banned, kicked out, temporarily or indefinitely, simply because there is a central authority that can say, oh, that's not allowed, I'm sorry, you're out. D-gamers are free to participate without any kind of external vigilance. In trad gaming, players have little to no power in the development of a game. You can never decide what new experiences, for example, should appear in a game. We might think of some exceptions like Kickstarter, but I believe that was a step towards decentralization and D-gaming. In a way, it's part of the process. D-gamers also participate in the decision process, and that is the most exciting part of it, because the best projects will build communities before they build a game, and the community will tell them what they want from a game, and that's the game they will get. The governance side of e-gaming is the most exciting part. In trad gaming, players who get in on a game sooner rather than later might build an advantage. You have more experience, you probably started getting more upgrades. When new players come in, you have an advantage because you've been in the space for longer. D-gamers can expect not only to gain an in-game advantage by joining in on a project, but in a way it's not just an in-game advantage. If you get in on a project that is successful in the future, you might actually expect a significant return on your investment. Very frequently, if you join a project soon, probably a game doesn't even exist yet. You will buy assets in order to support a project because you care for it, which is basically a new form of crowdfunding, if you want. D-gamers can earn digital tokens in-game, tradable outside the game, on an exchange or similar. What's a blockchain game? Well, it's a game in which assets, be it game assets or tokens or whatever, are stored on a blockchain, which is the kind of dispersed ledger, the technology that has the potential to revolutionize all sort of sectors. Now, if we think of centralization, which is the ethos, if you want, and the blockchain games, which is the technology, and we can think of games that are decentralized on a blockchain and games that are centralized not on blockchain. Those are the two categories that we are most used to. Think of Axie Infinity, definitely decentralized, and on a blockchain. It's the Ronin blockchain. Very random example. XCOM is definitely a game that is centralized, is made by a company, and it's not on a blockchain.
Can you imagine minting the head of an elite mutant you've just killed and then hanging it on the wall of your place in the metaverse for all your friends to see? How cool would that be?
Once we've established these two extremes, there might be examples for centralized games on a blockchain. Upland might be a decent example. And a decentralized game not on a blockchain? That's going to be hard. One sort of warning, that's the Dinos. The decentralized in name only. I would be very careful with those. We've seen a lot of Dinos in DeFi. I suspect we're in for a lot of Dinos in the Metaverse as well. Free to play. Think of Fortnite, that's a very popular example. Once we've started thinking of free-to-play as basically no capital going out, no capital going in, I'd like to suggest an example of a free-to-play game that is a decentralized game.
Quick disclaimer, I'll be making a case of League of Kingdoms, but I have no beef with the game.
League of Kingdoms, for players, is actually a free-to-play game. You sit down, you pick up the game, it's very nice, very fast-paced, you got notifications all over the place. However, unless you own land, which is something you can do without even spending 5 minutes in the game, you will not be able to earn anything. Any fan of League of Kingdoms out there who doesn't agree with me, please let me know in the comments. So what is play to earn then? I've recently reviewed a project that I think it's a perfect example of a play to earn game. It's Crypto Royale. If you are as bad as I am, don't expect to make a lot of money. The better you are, the more you play, the more you can expect to earn. There are many other examples. So to my mind, for a game to be qualified as play to earn, it means that the capital I'm investing is my time. And the return I get is based on my initial investment. How much time I spend in the game, how much skill I acquire in the game, and of course, that is the main variable that underlies my earning. If we can think of play to earn as a development of free to play, it makes sense that it might evolve again. And I think that's what we're witnessing here. Projects that sort of become too big for play to earn. They don't really fit into the category we just established, because I can't sit down and play Axie Infinity. I need to make a significant investment, which is of course going to be reflected in the return on this investment I get. I can't simply sit down and start earning. These projects become something like own to eat, own to earn. Capital must be put in before capital can get out. Now, I think this is an important step. As individual gamers, very frequently, it's unimaginable to buy assets that go for thousands of dollars. In a way, you stop being a gamer and you become an investor, even though you might still be involved in the gaming on the platform. And as these projects evolve towards something that is more like DeFi territory, gamers as well evolve. You don't need to make this step, friends. You can stay D-gamers in play to earn and be happy, or invest something and get in on O2E. I'll give you one example and you will understand why I decided to use League of Kingdoms earlier. If you simply want to play, game is quite nice, but if you want to earn, you must buy land. Land is quite expensive, and I think that you would get decent return if you bought land in League of Kingdoms. However, I struggle with the idea of buying land and then have players on that land sort of farming resources, which will give more revenue to the landowner. By the way, what I'm saying here is specifically about League of Kingdoms. I'm not saying that every project or game has the same problem.
I believe that O2E is really DAOs territory. Groups of gamers with very good intentions, lifting people out of poverty in the Philippines, in Venezuela.
DAOs like Merit Circle, YGG, there's a number of them coming up as well. Human DAO is one that recently launched with a clear focus on P2E. So DAOs should work towards buying land in these spaces, towards buying assets that would be simply impossible for gamers to acquire otherwise.
Some of these games will have leaderboards of the people who have spent the most, who have acquired the largest collection of assets. I look at those leaderboards not in awe. I look at that as a form of centralization. Of course, some of those wallets might indeed be DAOs, but a lot of them will be individually owned. From a point of view of fairness, DAOs are the only way to avoid centralization of ownership of game assets, as their goal is to redistribute the wealth generated through P2E and O2E. If you're interested in joining one of these guilds, I'll be making a video very soon in which I present the biggest projects and give you some insights into how to get in.
What does this all mean for gamers? Well, first of all, just like in everything else, make your own mind. What do you want from this space? Do you want great games? Well, traditional gaming might be better for you at this stage, because, let's be honest, gameplay in a lot of these D games is still quite poor, and we'll have to wait for bigger projects to take the D gaming industry to the next level. Projects like Illuvium or Star Atlas, just to name a couple. Do you want to unshackle yourself and become a truly free gamer? Then you definitely want to explore this industry, but maybe pay attention to the level of centralization in a game or a project. There is not much freedom in going from a traditional game to a centralized game on a blockchain. And if we only use the technology without thinking of our real objectives, I think we miss a big opportunity to revolutionize our future entertainment. If you're willing to explore the depths of the metaverse and find your place in it, P2E and O2E represent new opportunities to engage with, based on the type and amount of capital you're willing to put in. I think it's the most exciting thing in gaming we've seen in years. And now that we're through, a couple of resources to keep the conversation going. First of all, a brilliant slide by Gonsalves I found on Twitter, and by the way, thanks for sharing, Chris, which we might use to keep talking about P2E and O2E. And secondly, as there are hundreds of points to develop, and that cannot be exhausted here in 15 minutes or so, there is a brilliant podcast on Bankless with Emmy Hu from Lightspeed Capital, which is called Web3 Gaming 101, and that's a great way to get more insight into this space. So link in the description. Get out there and start learning. So what do you think of this? Intelligent analysis on the metaverse and D games? Did I say something silly that even a 5-year-old would understand? Are there points you would like to raise? Well, let me know in the comments, and please be civil, because I'm just raising some questions and suggesting some possible solutions. If you enjoyed the discussion today, please consider giving this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more content on the metaverse, the gaming, traditional gaming, and this ever-growing space. That's it from me for today. See you soon, and good hunting.